So our first speaker today is Michele Biggart of Fountaingate Gardens, who is also a sponsor of this event. Thank you. Michelle's talk today is entitled, "What is a Life Plan Community?" also known as a CCRC, and is it right for me? There are so many choices on Long Island when it comes to senior living options for active adults. A life plan community, also known as a Continuum of Care retirement community, CCRC, provides for independent living for adults over the age of 62 with a safety net of long-term care needs if ever needed. The main focus of these campuses, outside of being a continuum of care, are the health, wellness, and engagements of its residents. Join Michele Biggart, a certified geriatric care manager and director of sales for Fountaingate Gardens, a Gerwin community, as we discuss the importance of considering a life plan community. In addition to having just posted in the chat the schedule for the day, so please take a look at that. I will also in a moment post Michelle's contact information. Thank you, Michele.
Thank you, Barbara. Good morning, and thank you, David. Thank you for having me today. I am looking forward to explaining life plan communities as well as senior living options. So I will share my screen so everyone can see the presentation today. Okay, so let's get started. So it's important to understand that senior living and life plan communities should really be explained first by definition. A lot of times in my experience as a senior consultant or geriatric care manager, I'm often asked different questions in regards to senior living for active adults. So today's presentation will talk about senior living as well as the benefits of a life plan community. Again, my name is Michele Biggart. I'm a certified geriatric care manager. I'm an employee of the Gerwin healthcare system, specific to its independent living at Fountaingate Gardens. So let's get started today and dive into the world of senior living. Just a few housekeeping reminders. All participants are on mute. There is a chat feature that you can use at any point if you're looking to have a question answered. I will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. There is a lot to learn today, so I am sure that there will be some questions and information that you would like some further clarification on. So let's get started. What can we expect out of today's presentation? So senior living options are for active adults. So we're talking about independent living, active adults who are perhaps looking at retirement or beyond retirement, and they want to know what's out there in regards to senior living. Independent living versus needs-based living is very important to understand the difference from. And that's something that I will go through later today in the presentation. The value of life plan communities, even the term, what is a life plan community? What is a continuing care retirement community? And what does that mean for me? The value in those life plan communities, who is paying for them, or what are the pay sources used to pay for independent living or for life plan communities? What you need to know to make an informed decision. Obviously, you are all here today supporting the 50 and over fair, and education is key. So that's why we're here, to continue learning, to continue to learn about our options and how a life plan community might fit that option. Okay, so let's talk about the aging population. The aging population today is now surpassing younger adults, right? So let's say millennials, and how many children they're having, right? So we might look at population statistics 50 or 60 years ago and see that families were larger. Perhaps there were 3 or 4 or 5 children. That has changed today with our current population. And those who are older, specifically baby boomers, are making up large portions of the population. We are living longer. Living past 90 and living past 100 is now a common trend. There are many blue zones around the world which designate areas for populations living longer and living longer healthier and more active. So as we look towards the future, there are many things that we want to consider to keep that longevity going and to enhance the later part of life. And remember, if we're living a longer life, it means that we have the opportunity in retirement to continue to thrive. And that's important. So what makes up successful aging? So your individual wellness is important. The wellness that you have today, you want to extend and have continue into the next phase of your life. So for some, it's all of these items, or for others, it's a few of these items. Your social needs, your intellectual needs, your spiritual needs, the environment that you're in. What are your emotional needs? How has your profession shaped your life or your career? What does that look like now that perhaps you've retired and you're starting the next phase of your life? These are all really important items to consider and to think about as you look at senior living options and life plan communities beyond the family home. So let's talk about the idea of having a lifestyle change. How do you know that you're ready for that next step? So oftentimes in my position, I'll hear, we love living on Long Island. We've had a great life here. We want to continue that life, but the family home has become a burden. And we are tired of keeping up with the responsibilities that come with it. We have a lot of space, a lot of clutter, and we're really looking for more of a simplified lifestyle, but we're also concerned about potential healthcare needs down the road. And that's a really common situation that many active adults or seniors find themselves in. So oftentimes we ask them or start a conversation about the next step. So are you comfortable with your daily routines? Do you see yourself being successful with those daily routines, living somewhere else or in a different community? Are your loved ones worried about you right now in your family home? So are they worried about the basement and the stairs that go down to the basement where your office is? Are they worried about what happens when it snows? And are you out there shoveling snow? It's also a time in your life to potentially make new friends. So if you have decided that the burden of home ownership is no longer right for your needs, then you want to have that opportunity to create a lifestyle where you can meet new people and meet peers and engage with peers that are in a similar stage of life that you were in. And of course, you want to maintain a sense of connection and stability. That is so important, especially in light of COVID-19, where we saw that isolation, specifically seniors in isolation, could be just as deadly as the virus itself. So we want to make sure that there's that connection, that there is stability and choice. Being able to make the choice and have that control is something that's really important as well. So when we talk about senior living options and we talk about life plan communities, you first have to understand what's out there in order to dive into the concept of a life plan community. So learning and exploring your options is a part of the journey. Understanding your options also will take time. You may hear a presentation like mine and everything won't sink in. It's because they're complex and senior living options can be complex. So there's lots of time to explore and to educate yourself about the different options. Choosing the right community can improve the quality of your life and the longevity of your life. And those are proven statistics. There are studies that show by being engaged and healthy and continuing on that pattern, you will live a longer life. Choice and flexibility should be top of mind. You're active, you're healthy. This is the time when you can plan and choose for yourself. But it does take time to get your financial and legal house in order. It's not easy. Just like it's not easy to declutter your family home of 50 years, it's also not easy to have these conversations. What does the next part of my life look like? What control is important to me? How am I going to pay for the next phase of my life? Those are all really important questions that you want to make sure you discuss and answer. And by planning ahead, you're able to do that. So let's talk about independent living. So strictly independent living for the active, healthy adult. It's a personal choice. You're making the choice to leave wherever you may be to enter into a senior living campus for the next phase. This can range from cottages to apartments. It's residential style living. It affords you the same privacy that you would have in your current home. And just like the name says, it's independent. There usually is a calendar of activities associated with any type of independent living. So whether it's trips or events at the clubhouse, there's some stimulation. Many of these communities will also offer additional services and amenities. So that could be housekeeping, interior and exterior maintenance, activities. These amenities and services are either included in the cost or they're more of a pay-as-you-go fee-for-service concept. The other part of independent living can include, as in the case of life plan communities, a discussion and a safety net of future healthcare needs included in the cost of the campus. So I'll say that again because it's sometimes hard to grasp on the first concept. There are independent living choices through life plan communities that will guarantee you and provide you a safety net of future care needs. It's important to understand that when we talk about independent living, we are not talking about assisted living or assistance with activities of daily needs. So what does that mean to have or need assistance with activities of daily living? It means that you need assistance with meal preparation, perhaps toileting, ambulating, medication management. So you need some sort of assistance because you're not able to act independently. And if we're talking about that, we're really talking about a need-based type of senior living. So that means perhaps you need home care services in your home. You need an aide to come for a few hours a day and help you. Perhaps you end up moving to an assisted living community where those services will be provided to you. Meal preparation, medication management, and then of course there's skilled nursing and rehab and memory care where we are talking about a true needs-based situation, whether it's social needs, mental needs, physical needs, or a combination of all three. You're looking at more of a medical setting in regards to nursing and skilled rehab. So again, as we talk today, just keep in mind that there is a difference between the choice in senior living and the need-based senior living, and that's important to keep in mind. Okay, so let's talk about perhaps the most common senior independent living option or active adult living option on Long Island, and that is the 55 and older community. And there are plenty of those communities on Long Island. You'll see them off the highway, you'll see them off the parkway. They are 55 and older, so they are age restricted. There is an application process that the person has to go through in order to be admitted into the community. They tend to be not as social simply because as we are living longer, we might not be retiring at 55 or 56 or 60. So it could be a little bit of a quiet community if its residents are still working. Usually these communities are for profit. They have a monthly rent where you are paying to live there, to rent an apartment. This means that any of your individual expenses, such as your health expenses, your utilities, your groceries, your entertainment cost, they still fall at the expense of the individual. And that's important to remember. You're just paying for rent in these 55 and older communities in most cases. Sometimes monitoring who is residing in the community can be difficult. Maybe the 55 and older person signs the contract, but a month or two later, their adult children with their children have moved in, and maybe it's lost that concept of being a true 55 and older. Of course, in any 55 and older community, there are usually a clubhouse, indoor and outdoor maintenance, perhaps a pool. So that's pretty typical for independent living when we talk about the 55 and older community. And that is perhaps the community that is most well known to Long Islanders. So let's switch gears and let's talk about a life plan community. So a life plan community is also known as a continuing care retirement community. Yes, it's a mouthful. CCRC, a continuing care retirement community. There are 12 life plan communities on Long Island, in the state of New York. In other states, there could be over 200. But as far as New York goes, we have 12 life plan or continuing care retirement communities. These communities tend to be 62 and older. There tends to be a financial and health application. Just like a 55 and older, we're talking about private pay communities. Usually, life plan communities or CCRCs are not for profit, and they're mission-based. They are based on living a healthy, engaged, and connected lifestyle. The goal is to keep that pattern going when you move into a life plan community. The major difference here that takes some time to get used to is the idea that a life plan community has a one-time entrance fee or an investment fee in the lifestyle and the guaranteed safety net of care in the community. So this entrance fee can be refundable or have a portion of it being refunded, and I'll talk more about that. So this entrance fee is in addition to the monthly rent. So one-time entrance fee based upon the life plan community you're entering into, as well as the size and style of your apartment, in addition to a monthly rent. However, there is a continuum of care on that campus that you are essentially buying into. So you come to a life plan community and you start an independent living, but there is a safety net of needs-based care on the same campus. It becomes truly your forever home. And in addition to that safety net, while you are in independent living, still maintaining your active and healthy lifestyle, we are there to provide that for you, which means a clubhouse, services and amenities, wellness, activities, lifelong learning. That all contributes to maintaining longevity as you age. And of course, most importantly, perhaps when it comes to a life plan community, there is stability and choice. You are controlling the predictability of cost as well as the quality of future care needs. I hope everyone is taking this all down. There will be a quiz at the end. No, I'm just kidding. So let's keep going with life plan communities. So we said that they're also known as a continuing care retirement community or a CCRC. They are based on having an environment or a lifestyle that supports robust activities, engagement, being connected, being stimulated on its campus. And remember, it's a campus setting. So oftentimes life plan communities will have residential buildings or cottages or apartments that kind of meet around one clubhouse. And it has more than one level of care on its campus. So it will have independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing and rehab. And if you're lucky, some of these life plan communities will have additional parts of the continuum, such as dialysis on site, an infusion center, adult daycare. So depending upon the organization that sponsors the life plan community, will depend upon what type of services are on the continuum of care. So what are the benefits of a life plan community? Oftentimes I'm asked, what is the difference between looking at a 55 and older and moving into a 55 and older versus a life plan community if I am active, independent, and looking to start the next phase of my life? So one, we talked about the lifestyle and how important the lifestyle is to promoting the longevity. Two, we talked about the control, being able to know in a predictable way what future healthcare costs might be. It will eliminate the burden of the home maintenance. So like we talked about when we first started the presentation, is having too much space, having too much clutter, having to pay for real estate taxes, having to maintain the maintenance of a home indoors and out. That all goes away. The idea is to have a simplified living where you're more engaged and participating in the good stuff, as opposed to worrying about the responsibility that comes with home ownership. Again, it's going to provide you a safety net of a higher level of care should you ever need it. And it's priority access because it's on one campus. There are tax advantages when it comes to a life plan community if you are purchasing life care through the community, and I'll talk about that as well. And we spoke about the financial stability, the predictability, and it being your forever home. The idea is that you won't have to move outside of the campus because all of your wants and needs are covered depending upon the stage that you are in during your lifetime. So let's talk about the life plan community structure. And this slide is able to give you a really nice indication of the life plan community structure. So let's talk about that. The entrance fee. There is a one-time entrance fee with the option, if you would like, of having a portion of it refunded to you when you leave the community. This entrance fee will be based upon whether or not you are coming to the community already with long-term care insurance, or if you're purchasing long-term care insurance or life care through the community. This entrance fee is also based upon the size of the apartment and style that you choose, or cottage or condo, whatever it might be. Naturally, the larger the residence, the increase on the entrance fee. In addition to the entrance fee, you will pay a monthly service fee or a rent. Similar to a 55 and older, you're paying rent. However, there's a big difference. There is an abundant amount of resort-like services and amenities that come with paying that rent. And all of these services and amenities that I'll give you examples of in the next slide will promote an active, healthy, and engaged lifestyle. Next is the continuum of care. So while you are experiencing those wonderful services and amenities in independent living, there is still a safety net of care for you or your spouse if you have to go to assisted living or skilled nursing. And the convenience, especially for spouses or friends, is great because the buildings are usually on the one campus and they're easy to be accessed access through sidewalks or, being taken over to the next building, which is really nice. And then when you exit the community, the individual or the couple, you will be entitled to the partial refund that you had agreed upon when you put down your entrance fee. So this slide kind of explains that concept nicely, making sure that you kind of understand the financial responsibility with the services and amenities. So let's talk about those services and amenities, because that's a fun part of a life plan community. So there is a concierge that you can call down to if you need assistance, if you have a question, you need something brought up to you. Clubhouse with programs that support life learning, health and wellness. Flexible dining dollars. Most life plan communities in their contract will include 1 meal per day or dining dollars that can be used at any of the dining options on campus. So whether it's a casual place like a bistro or a marketplace where you're grabbing a sandwich, or whether it's formal dining for dinner with friends. So that's really nice. Housekeeping services twice a month is also usually common. Weekly sheet changes are common, which I think is really nice, having someone change your sheets. 24-hour security, parking, all interior exterior maintenance, scheduled transportation for personal, group, or medical needs. And here's the big part of it too. Most life plan communities will pay for all of your utilities. So in your monthly rent, you are getting all of these services and amenities at your fingertips. And perhaps what is most valuable to that is that you will always have connection, community, and engagement. And again, that's really important, especially these last couple months where we all have been socially isolated. So again, these are just some of the amenities that a life plan community would tend to offer. So I always like to do a little review in the middle of a presentation, because I've given you a lot of information to digest. So remember, when we talk about senior living options for the independent active adult who has perhaps retired or is soon to retire, there are the 55 and older communities, okay, but no healthcare provisions or safety net of care needs are provided in a 55 and older community. You are paying rent. All of the other expenses still fall on you. So your individual expenses, your utilities, your entertainment costs, your health costs is still falling at your expense. And you're likely to have to move again should you require a higher level of care or your needs have now changed. Compare that to the life plan community, which is more of the aging in place option, 62 and over. You're covering potential healthcare costs down the road. You're on one campus. There's that resort style living. You know your neighbors. You're eating dinner with them. Or perhaps you're having a quiet dinner in your apartment because you still maintain that independent living and privacy, just like you would in any other home. Okay. And usually these campuses, like we said, have different dining options. Hopefully they'll have a pool, different type of amenities. And that's what you tend to find on these campuses. So my favorite, right? It all sounds great, but how are we going to pay for it? When we talk about life plan communities, just like in the sense of the 55 and older, we are talking about private pay. And I think it's really important to distinguish and kind of pause in regards to the Medicare program. So as we all know, Medicare came about in the 60s as a safety net for the health expenses of adults or senior adults in the United States. So when you are over the age of 65, unless you're disabled, which it could come sooner, you will be entitled to Medicare. You may have heard of or know of Medicare Part A and B, which are covering hospitalizations, doctor visits, or any type of medical event in a healthcare setting. Part D covers prescriptions. Part C is usually for those who opt for the Medicare Advantage plans, which are different because they're based upon individual needs and healthcare needs. Most people, though, are familiar with A and B, with the prescriptions coming in on Part D. This is so important. It will not pay for long-term care. Medicare will not pay for long-term care. And that's really important to keep in mind. So let's give an example, because I feel that giving an example sometimes help viewers understand the concept. So let's say that you go in for a routine surgery at your hospital and you had to get your knee replaced. Having a knee replacement will require short-term rehab at a skilled nursing facility before you are able to go home successfully. So you choose a facility in Suffolk or Nassau County, and you go there for rehabilitation services. Day 1 to day 20 will be covered by Medicare. Medicare understands, as does the facility, that you are recovering from an operation that requires certain therapies and certain care. Once you hit day 21 to 100 of being in a short-term rehab, there will be a co-insurance or a co-payment that Medicare asks you to pay. So I think right now that co-payment is around $360. You will either have to pay out of pocket on that co-pay, or you may have a supplemental or gap insurance policy through AARP or one of those companies that provide it that will pick up the cost of the copay. Once you are beyond day 100, you are at the mercy of Medicare from the point of billing and the facility in regards to payment. They will no longer pay, meaning Medicare, past day 100. This means that Medicare has basically put an ending time to the clock on short-term rehabilitation services. They feel that if you have to remain in a skilled nursing facility beyond 100 days, you are now moving towards needing long-term care. And Medicare will not pay for long-term care. Okay, so that's just important to kind of review as we talk about financing. So where a life plan community finds its value is the access to such care. So let's talk about that. There is a difference between being able to pay for care and being able to access care. Those are two completely different concerns. So you may have the financial means to pay for your care, but at the time that you do, if and when you do, how are you going to access it? What is the reputation of the assisted living or the home care services or the skilled nursing and rehab that you're looking to access? Are there beds available? What are the ratios of the residents to the staff? These are all questions that you are going to want to ask when you have to access that care. So keep in mind, when we talk about a life plan community, it's either going to complement you coming in with an existing long-term care insurance policy, and long-term care insurance policies are purchased just like you would purchase car insurance or life insurance. their purchase as a safety net for future care needs down the road, or you will come into a life plan community and purchase the life care through the community itself. So I'll repeat that again because it can be a little confusing. If you explore the route of a life plan community, it will either complement your existing long-term care insurance policy, or you will be able to purchase the life care or the long-term care insurance in simplified terms through the life plan community. And that's important to understand. So what should you be looking for when you are checking out a life plan community? And remember, there are 12 of them in New York State. What is the average age of the residents or the depositors? If it's a newer building, if it's an older building, is the sponsor or the parent company for profit or not for profit? Not for profit is always wonderful because the profits are reinvested back into the community. What are the parking accommodations? How far is the walk on the campus itself? What is the offered transportation on the campus if you are coming in not driving, or perhaps your situation changes down the road and you can't drive? If pets are important to you, is the campus pet friendly? What is the security like? And I think the next part too is really important. What is the access to the health and wellness on campus? So if you are lucky, some of these life plan communities will have a wellness center where you can meet with a nurse practitioner or some sort of medical staff, simply by walking down to the clubhouse. What does the structure of the campus look like? Is the independent living separate from the assisted living and the nursing facility? That perhaps is even more important in times of COVID, of not mixing populations even though they're on one campus. And what's the level of engagement and programming? Does the campus have TED Talks or lifelong learning programs? A personal trainer to help you access the gym and the pool. Those are really important items to consider when you are looking at a life plan community or just senior living options in general for the active, independent adults. So how do I make the best choice for me? Well, you're probably sitting there saying, well, now I definitely don't know the best choice because there's so many ideas in my head. I hope that some of this information has simplified or narrowed down what is important to you, where you want to be, and how many times you envision yourself moving. So how do you make that choice? Well, one, it's your willingness to make a plan, to talk about it, to have the conversation, to do the education and do your homework. Second, it's the desire for your social connection and your independence at the same time. It is great to be able to spend the day at the pool with neighbors and friends, but it's also nice to go back to a private apartment and have that privacy and independence as well. Is it affordable? What options are affordable to my financial situation? The commitment to the area. If you want to live on Long Island and stay on Long Island, looking at communities that are on Long Island that have a nice reputation and good success. How close you are to your family, to your children, to your friends, to your loved ones. What does your support network look like? Would your supporters benefit from you being in a life plan community just like you would benefit? It takes away that crisis moment of what do I do if A, B, or C happens in regards to my health needs down the road. The healthcare access is also really important and goes hand in hand with that. Being a professional in the senior world for over a decade has showed me two sides of the coin. Those who are planners and tend to have less crisis, and those who maybe take a little bit of a gamble and find themselves sometimes in a crisis situation. And as we all know, dealing with difficult health situations are only further made difficult when you have to tack on that crisis planning. It's emotional, it's frustrating, it can be confusing. Sometimes you have limited time to make the best choice for you or your loved one. So that's important. And really just having the conversation, opening the door to the conversation, not waiting until perhaps something happens or you decline. Why not start enjoying the best of your life now? Why wait for something that may or may not eventually come in regards to needing future care? The keys to longevity. There's science, there is research, and there is health behind it. That if you live with a purpose, you have social connections, you stay active, you feed your spirit, you practice good nutrition, good brain health, you surround yourself with family and friends. These will be the keys that will allow you to live longer. And in a life plan community, that is exactly the mission. We do not want you to have to go to a higher level of care. So we will try our best to foster an environment that allows you to age in place. And then if you need that care down the road, that's okay too, because it's there and it's on one campus. And that really is important, and it's important to know for both yourself and for any of the players that support you in your life, whether it's spouses, children, friends, and family. Okay, so thank you for joining me today. Again, my name is Michele Biggart. I'm a certified geriatric care manager, and I am passionate about the world of seniors. I do want to leave some time for some questions. So one of the questions that has popped up is in regards to the financial health of any life plan community, whether that is in New York or another state. The one thing I will tell you that when you are looking at life plan communities, it is very important to ask for their disclosure statement. The disclosure statement is a statement of the financial stability of the organization or the parent organization that owns the life plan community. Keep in mind that in New York, life plan communities are regulated by New York State. They are regulated by the Department of Health, the Department of Finance, as well as the Department of Insurance. Anything that a life plan community does from a financial perspective does need to go through the state for the protection of seniors in the state. That's why those policies exist. But again, the financial disclosure statement is something that you will want to take a look at either for the organization or for the parent company that owns the life plan community. Another question I often get that came up here today as well is in regards to the refundability options. So normally on the entrance fee, most communities have about 2 or 3 options for the refundability of the entrance fee. One would be the 0% refundability. So after a certain amount of years, the refundability goes down to 0. Second would be the 50% refundable. So 50% of your entrance fee after a certain amount of time living in the community. And third would be something like an 80 or a 90% refundability of your entrance fee. So a lot of times we have discussions on what are your goals? What are your goals in regards to your legacy? How do you see your financial status for the later years of your life? And that is all taken into account when we talk about which contract option is right for you. In the same way we discuss that, we talk about that with long-term care insurance. If you have a very strong long-term care insurance policy, then you will most likely not look to the community for the life care, but instead you will look to the community for the enhancement, the community, the services, the amenities. When you're looking at the disclosure statement, you will be looking at the history of the finances of the company. You will be looking at future plans. If they tend to, are they looking to expand their campus? What does their debt look like? What do their future plans look like? So a lot of these financial questions that you might ask in a group setting are really better to be asked one-on-one, simply because finances and policies are so different from one person to the next. So it's important that if you are looking for a life plan community, that you make those one-on-one appointments to really understand your situation as it pertains to you. And that goes for the same in any type of planning, right? If you meet with an elder law attorney, the plan is going to be based on your specific wishes, needs, and family status. So it's important to do that homework, but to also put your best foot forward in regard to having the one-on-one. Doing the education and doing the homework is fantastic, but also answering the questions based upon your own situations and needs are equally as important. Because when you read an article or you perhaps listen to a presentation, and you'll listen to many good ones today, they're giving you an overall picture of an idea or a concept. Having those one-on-ones really distinguishes your individual situation from the next person. I hope that you have enjoyed the presentation today. I am happy to be of service for future questions. I have time for one more question, and I see that one came in. So in regards to the health application for a continuing care retirement community, we did mention that there's a financial component. So naturally, you have to have the financial means to afford the entrance fee as well as sustain the monthly fee. In regards to the health application is looked at more closely when you are purchasing healthcare from the life plan community itself. So we understand that our residents in any life plan community will come in with pre-existing conditions, illnesses. What we ask to see is that they're staying on top of those conditions, they're managing them, they're seeing their doctors, and basically what we are looking for above anything else is that the person or persons are able to live independently, that there are no red flags that would make us believe from a health perspective or from a safety perspective that living independently would be detrimental or not a good, or they wouldn't be a good candidate for life plan communities. So please understand that we expect residents to come in with certain health conditions. The idea is that you're able to live independently. My contact information has been provided here today. I am happy to answer any questions in regards to the geriatric side of senior living and independent living. I hope you enjoy the rest of the day and you learn a lot of information, and be well. Thank you again for joining me, and I hope you found it informative. Take care.